minutes. 3 minutes. I'm good. How are you? Yes. I think
you welcome those who are inside and those who are joining us from other platforms, not media platforms, because others. Welcome those who are inside and also those who are joining us from other platforms. Then introduce yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, good morning and welcome. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all the media, various media houses who are in the house here and those who joined us through other platforms. My name is Brigadier Tandimbambo, the section head for the Hawks Communication, as well as the national spokesperson. Let me introduce the panel before we allow the national head to address us. I will start with the national head for the Hawks, that is Lieutenant General Dr. Advocate Godfrey Lebeya. Next to him is the acting deputy national head, Lieutenant General Advocate CFE CP. Then next to him is the component head for governance, corporate support and services, Major General Molajana. Then on the left-hand side of the national head, we have the acting divisional commissioner, Major General Nkosi. Next to him is the component head for Priority Crime Management Center, Major General Mononopi. Then last, we have the component head for Financial Accounting Investigation, Major General L.E. Makwela. I will now hand over to the national head who is going to address us. General.
Dear South Africans, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I deemed it necessary to brief the public and provide progress on the work and commitment put forth by the DPCI members in the fight against perpetrators of national priority crimes. Since this is our first official briefing for the Directorate, I shall outline and take stock of the milestone achievements since my appointment in June 2018. Pursuant to the organizational and management capabilities upon taking charge of the Directorate, I embarked on a process of assessment, implementation, and monitoring, which I call AIM. This entailed engaging the management and personnel in the Directorate in order to redirect the bids. To properly re-engineer the Directorate, most issues were identified within the first 100 days in office. This included incoherent organizational structure, stagnation in some investigation, transfer of the personnel from the DPCI to other divisions within the South African Police Service, nepotistic practices in appointments, poor and unfair allocation of human and physical resources, inadequate implementation of the Police Act, which has adversely impacted not only on the functioning of the Directorate but also on the attrition of skilled personnel. As a result of this anomaly, a work study was commissioned that resulted in redesigning a fully developed structure of the Directorate, which was approved in the 2019 and is now being implemented to enhance the skills levels and retaining personnel in an effort to build capacity. During its inception in 2009, the head count of the personnel in the DPCI was 2,663, while in 2018, the number had already shrunk to 2,535. This number is currently standing at 2,672. As we speak, we have already advertised more than 200 posts. We shall continuously advertise vacant funded posts to address these identified gaps. It is worth noting that several appointments were made, which includes the appointment of the Deputy National Head, which although we have recently lost her to the greater service, we have already advertised the post and we will be filling it soon. We also appointed the Divisional Commissioner, 6 provincial heads of the DPCI, component heads including financial accounting investigation, priority crime specialized investigation, and the appointment of other senior managers and personnel across the country. Although there is a slow pace in vetting the designated appointees in senior management service for top secret security clearance certificate, 85% of the SMS posts have been filled. Should the designated managers successfully negotiate the vetting process and be certified on top secret security clearance level, we will be able to fill up to 100% before the end of this financial year. The lower and middle level management is still operating at 50%, and the fiscus allowing, we intend to fill this post over the coming 2 financial years. As regard to the work on hand, the DPCI is currently handling 22,477 cases with more than 500,000 charges. The monetary value of this is 1,574,000,000 874,000 and a couple cents. These cases involve approximately 23,519 suspects, of which 12,360 have already been secured in the different courts. We are still waiting to trace 11,159. Of these cases under investigation, already 1,998 have reached decision stage, where the National Prosecuting Authority is applying its mind. Over the period between 2018-2019 financial year and up to 2021-2022 financial years, the DPCI have arrested 12,157 suspects that were brought before the courts of law over these 4 years. In the same period, a total of 4,447 convictions were secured across the country. Let me hasten to mention that the convictions relate to individuals, as the charges or count themselves are much higher. To cite as an example, in 2019, the convictions relating to serious commercial crime investigation alone was 37,597 counts. In a Cape Town Central case of 2016, the 2 natural persons and 5 juristic persons were convicted on 487 counts of fraud and money laundering, which relate to value-added tax to the value of 110 million as an actual loss and a potential loss of 440 million. The natural persons were on the 21st of February 2020 sentenced to 17 years and 16 years imprisonment respectively. To elaborate on some of the nature of the cases that we are dealing with, it is important to note that the nature of the cases that the DPCI is seized with include those cases that are outlined in the DPCI mandate. We include cash in transit robberies, theft of fowl from the Transnet pipelines, trafficking in drugs, trafficking in human beings, corruption, commercial crime, organized crime, cyber crime, and money laundering, as well as inchoate offenses such as conspiracy to commit crime and incitement to commit crime. Coming to corruption, the Directorate has noted that corruption is one of the biggest threats in South Africa. It allows the flow of illegal funds, which is the reason that informs the Directorate to monitor performance on money laundering charges initiated through criminal investigation. In strengthening the fight against corruption, the Anti-Corruption Task Team and the Operational Committee have been revitalized in order to fast-track criminal investigation, prosecution, and asset recovery. These are the cases that have been selected, prioritized, and monitored on a continuous basis. For example, we have cases that are categorized under the top 100. We have cases categorized under the top 33, as well as the cases categorized under the top 10, of which the results have been overwhelming. We have seen the public appreciating work done by the Directorate on social media and elsewhere. Amongst others, several high-profile cases, including the VBS, asbestos, just to mention a few, have been placed on the court roll. I shall deal with some of these cases later on. The National Clean Audit Task Team was established to focus on some of the municipal cases. We have adopted a teamwork approach as opposed to individual investigators. In this regard, we continue assigning task teams to deal with certain municipalities under the auspices of National Clean Audit Task Team. Some of the highlights that have been achieved over this period include the following. Case number 1, eThekwini Durban solid waste scandal. You shall have seen from yesterday part of the trial which is currently taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. On the 14th of May 2019, the eThekwini former mayor, Madam Zandile Gumede, and 21 other suspects were secured before the court for offences relating to 280 million Durban solid waste tender by the Hawks National Clean Audit Task Team. The accused include the councillor, Mondi Mtembu, and businessman Craig Ponen. They are subsequently charged with fraud, corruption, a pattern of racketeering activities in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act of 1998, as well as contravention of the Municipal Finance Management Act of 2003. As I've indicated, a total of 23 accused persons are appearing before the KwaZulu-Natal Division of the High Court, which is sitting in Durban. The trial started yesterday and it is continuing. In the second case, the executive mayor of JP Max municipality in the northwest, Mr. Kodzo Moses Khumalo, was on the 23rd of October 2020, together with Cyril Henry, a director, were charged and appeared before the Potchefstroom Magistrate Court facing charges of fraud following their arrest. Their arrest emanates from the investigation that were conducted by the Hawks Serious Commercial Crime Investigation relating to an amount of 5 million intended for JP Max municipality, but ended in private pockets. The case is postponed to the 19th until the 21st of October 2022 for trial in Potchefstroom Magistrate Court, where it will be handled by the Specialized Commercial Crime Unit prosecutor. Case number 3, the suspects arrested for 56.4 million corruption. The Serious Corruption Investigation Team of the Hawks arrested 9 suspects aged between 30 and 65 years old on multiple charges of fraud, corruption and money laundering exceeding 56.4 million, which is actual loss, while the potential loss of this is around 200 million rands. The suspects were warned and they handed themselves over to the Hawks and appeared in Gqeberha Magistrate Court on the 20th of November 2020. They include the former Nelson Mandela Metropolitan Municipality officials and influential community representatives. Some of these are business officials. The said 9 natural persons are being charged with 6 juristic persons. Unfortunately, the 10th natural person passed on before the arrest took place. So the arrest took place in September of 2020, 2018. Just to mention one of the individuals, Mandisa Charles Mukasa, and the others. So there are several legs that we are dealing with in this matter. So the case itself is remanded to the 25th of October 2022 in the Eastern Cape. Case number 4, the former Minister of State Security, on the 27th of October 2020, 12 suspects, which included Advocate Bongani Bongo, a member of parliament, were arrested for alleged fraud and corruption in connection with the alleged dubious land deals amounting to almost 124 million rands. This follows a complaint received in February 2012 about the Musuguligwa municipality that allegedly bought a farm in Ermelo worth 11 million rand and thereafter sold for 36.4 million rand in 2011. Without dealing with the rest of the nitty-gritties of this case, the matter is scheduled to appear in court from the 18th to the 25th of November 2022 for pre-trial conference at Mpumalanga Specialized Commercial Crime Court. The accused persons are facing 69 counts of various offenses. Case number 5 deals with the Vendor Building Society Mutual Bank, which is famously known as the VBS. The case of the VBS has received massive coverage since inception. So far, 27 suspects have been arrested. A conviction has also been secured. This follows an intensive prosecution aimed investigation by the Hawks serious corruption investigation into the inappropriate administering of state funds into the vendor mutual bank by municipalities. The accused persons are facing more than 188 charges. Amongst the accused persons include the former mayor of Thulamela local municipality, Avashonisi Chifango, municipal manager Hlengani Maluleke, Collins Chabani municipality, Tsakani Ngobeni, you name them. A list is endless. At least I've indicated that 27 individuals are charged on this matter. The main case is postponed to the 3rd October 2022 up until the 3rd of December 2022 for trial. I must mention that an amount of 2,391 statements have been filed in this docket. When we talk about the narcotics cases, tackling drugs, gangsterism, and associated criminal activities remain apex priority for the government of the Republic. A dedicated South African Narcotics Enforcement Bureau, known as SANEP, is committed to working collaboratively with other law enforcement agencies, domestically, regionally, and internationally, to dismantle prolific drug trafficking organization. Interdiction at sea, air, and land borders have also been intensified through this capacity. This is done in close cooperation with international law enforcement bodies and other government departments. Over the period between 2018-2019 up to 2021-2022 financial years, a total of 1,305 suspects were arrested for this type of offenses, whilst 235 convictions were secured for drug-related offences. A grand total of 3,383,819,000 and a couple cents worth of assortment of drugs were seized from clandestine laboratories at the airport, oceans, land borders, as well as the roads in South Africa. Some of the highlights of this collaboration include the following successes. In Quebec environment, which is case number 6, on the 8th of January 2019, the Hawks intercepted 606 cocaine bricks hidden beneath thousands of containers at Quebec, Eastern Cape. The amount involved here is 760 million rands. In case number 7, that took place at Marble Hall on illicit clandestine laboratory, the accused person were arrested in a game farm just outside Marble Hall on the 16th of June 2020 for operating a clandestine drug laboratory. They appeared in a Groblersdal Magistrate Court. An individual, Obele Efiani and Aldio Mate, faced charges relating to manufacturing of drugs, dealing in drugs, and illegal possession of firearms as well as ammunition. The police also recovered enormous drugs worth millions of rand, as well as the 4 firearms and ammunition. Many machinery were also confiscated. I must report that on the 7th of March 2021, the accused were found guilty of manufacturing drugs, possession of firearm, and they were sentenced to 4 years imprisonment, which is wholly suspended for 5 years. The farm, which is valued at more than 4 million rand, has on the 22nd of April 2022 been preserved, which is a process of moving towards forfeiture to the state as an instrumentality that was used in the manufacture of drugs. Case number 8 and 9, which is what we call rip-on, rip-off, or what they call piggy begging drugs. During June 2021, an intelligence-driven operation led to the discovery of 541 kg of cocaine to the value of 216 million in canvas bags placed in a legitimate shipment of animal food in Durban. That is a typical rip-on, rip-off, or a piggy-begging method, which also provide the individuals with a duplicate seal placed inside so that after opening, they can still reseal the container. On the 30th of July 2021, an intelligence-driven operation led to another discovery of another consignment of 1,000 kg of cocaine worth 400 million rand in black canvas bags placed in a legitimate consignment of a vehicle with truck parts. A duplicate seal again was found in these trucks. In case number 10, a 12-feet cocaine boat was found in Pretoria on the N1. In June 2021, the SANAP investigators intercepted a vehicle that was towing a 12-feet boat on the N1 next to Pretoria. The boat was found to be containing 805 kg of cocaine to the value of 400 million. 8 suspects have since been arrested, and the 9th one, Ahmed Issa, who's also an international fugitive, escaped us in Cape Town, and we missed him again in KZN, where he is pretending to have been kidnapped. There is no kidnapping. He must just hand himself over. He is playing the same game as Sam Shengu Chabalala, who was released on bail after trying to corrupt an incorruptible hawk in Mpumalanga. Mshengu claimed to have been swallowed by a crocodile. There is no crocodile that swallowed him. He should just also hand himself to the DPCI. The drugs case is remanded to the 3rd of October 2020 for the 7 accused. One accused has since been convicted. Investigation with the assistance of various law enforcement agencies continue to target more suspects that are linked on an international front. In case number 11, the Ireton cocaine, on the 9th of July 2021, an intelligence-driven operation contacted on a container that was destined to transport items from Durban to Johannesburg led to the arrest of 6 suspects, including 2 police officials and a traffic official. A duplicate seal was also again found with the suspect. 715 kgs of cocaine to the value of 286 million were also seized. In case number 12, cocaine destined for Cape markets. On the 4th of August 2022, the SANEP, together with crime intelligence gathering, arrested 3 suspects, Ibrahim Kara, Mishak Ngobisi, and Elias Radebe in the Western Cape for trafficking 675 kg of cocaine to the value of 403 million rands. The accused appeared in Athlone Magistrate Court on the 8th of August and the 15th of August 2022. The case is postponed to the 22nd of August 2022. Coming to the serious corruption investigation. Case number 13, the funeral service for the former state president, Dr. Nelson Mandela. On the 5th of October 2021, the former Eastern Cape Health member of the Executive Council, Madame Sindiswa Gomba, and a co-accused made their first appearance in East London High Court on charges of fraud, money laundering, contravention of Municipal Finance Management Act, and corruption. The case has since been postponed on several occasions for various reasons. The accused will be answering to charges related to the procurement of service providers for the transportation and booking of venues during the memorial service and the funeral preparation for the late former president, Dr. Nelson Mandela, by the Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality. The case is postponed to the 5th and up until the 9th of September 2022, as well as the 17th October 2022 until the 25th of November 2022 for trial at the Eastern Cape High Court, which is sitting at Bishu. In case number 14, the Mogalakwena Municipality corruption in Limpopo, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation secured 15 natural persons, including Jabulani Petros Mashamaide, a member of the provincial legislature, and 13 juristic persons with summonses to appear in court in relation to allegation of tender corruption at Mogalakwena municipality. The suspects received gratification from the service providers and that Other companies were paid money for services that were not rendered. The accused included the former mayor, other senior officials and company directors. The case is coming before the Bulugwane Specialized Commercial Crime Court on the 7th of October 2022 for pre-trial conference. In the space of the anti-corruption task team cases, in strengthening the fight against corruption, the anti-corruption task team ACTT has been revitalized to fast-track criminal investigation, prosecution, and assets recovery. There are cases that have been selected, prioritized, and are being monitored on a continuous basis. For example, as I have indicated, we categorize them in terms of top 100, top 33, and top 10, of which the results are overwhelming. Over the period 2019 to 2022 financial years, a total of 554 suspects were arrested, while 142 accused persons were convicted for corruption-related offenses. Some of the cases on the anti-corruption task team include the following. Case number 15, the arms deal. Part of the arms deal case is currently postponed in KwaZulu-Natal High Court, which is sitting at Pietermaritzburg, to the 17th of October 2022, and probably the 7th November 2022, depending on the outcome of other applications that are serving through other high courts. Case number 16, Recon Community Project. The allegations regarding this matter relate to the superior quality trading as a Recon Community Projects. During the investigation of Estina Dairy Farm, it was discovered that there were irregularities in the financial flow analysis of a bank account. In June 2014, Recon entered into an agreement with the Free State Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to implement some project on behalf of the department. So based on that, 244 million was involved. The former CFO of the Free State Department of Agriculture, Madam Sylvia Dlamini, and the former head of the department, Mr. Peter Tabete, and others have been arrested, and they are facing 54 counts of fraud, theft and corruption, money laundering, forgery and uttering. The AFU has already attached the assets to the value of 249 million rands, and the criminal trial is set to take place from the 11th of April 2023 until the 4th of May 2023 at the Free State High Court, which is sitting in Bloemfontein. With regard to the PPE COVID-19 relief fund cases, when COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by the president, the government provided some financial relief to cushion the impact. Some greedy criminals developed some means to steal these funds. The anti-corruption task team, which also sits as the operational committee, as legislated in terms of Section 17J of the South African Police Service Act, assigned the Fusion Center in the Financial Intelligence Center to coordinate the fight against the looters. The DPCI formed part of this process. Since then, 143 accused persons have been secured in various courts on 55 cases. 33 cases have already been finalized with 31 convictions and 2 acquittals. This makes the conviction rate to be 94%. The following are some of the cases relating to COVID-19. Case number 17. 5 suspects arrested for COVID-19 UIF. On the 1st of July 2020, 5 suspects, including Tseban Howard Pohole, were arrested in an operation by the Gauteng Serious Corruption Investigation of the DPCI. This follows an intensive investigation into a case registered at Brooklyn SAPS relating to 58 counts of fraud, theft and money laundering involving 5.6 million of unemployment insurance fund, COVID-19, also called as the Temporary Employment Relief Schemes, TERS. The suspects were traced in various places in Soshanguve, Atteridgeville and Mamelodi. The 5 vehicles were also, including the Range Rover, were also recovered, which are the proceeds of the crime. The accused persons have been found guilty and they were sentenced on the 17th of May 2022. In case number 18, Malamulela couple arrested for relief funds. Between April and August 2020, the director of Mtiti Drop-In Center allegedly claimed 3.2 million of COVID social relief funds from the UIF on behalf of 242 former Malamulele-based extended public works program workers. However, the contract of the workers were terminated before the country's lockdown was declared by the state president. The claimed funds never reached the pockets of the former employees. Subsequently, the Hawks Serious Corruption Investigation in Limpopo arrested the company director, Madam Doris Mashimbi, together with her husband, Mr. William Khosa. The case is remanded to the 3rd of November 2022 for plea. The Serious Commercial Crime Investigation of the DPCI. Fraud constitutes a high number of criminal cases under investigation in the DPCI. In a financial year, starting from 2018-2019 up to 2021-2022, 1,655 suspects were arrested, while 605 were convicted for commercial-related offenses. Some of these successes include the following. In case number 19, 86 million of customs and excess conduct. On the 11th of September 2018, an individual was traveling from South Africa to Hong Kong when she was caught by the customs officials at OR Tambo International Airport carrying a sport bag with cash to the value of 86.90 million rands. The suspect has already boarded at the time, and she had to be taken alight from the flight by the South African Revenue Service official. The money seized was preserved, and obviously they have to deal with that as the instrumentality. So the accused was convicted and fined 200,000 or 24 months imprisonment, and further 24 months imprisonment suspended for 3 years on certain conditions. In case number 20, trade venture investment Ponzi scheme The suspects, Mosawe Nkosi Wilson Gazu and Fakazile Sweetness Mazibuko, operated a Ponzi scheme under the name of Trade for Life. They would accept deposit from the general public acting as a bank. Once monies were no longer being generated, they changed the company to Trade Venture Investment and continued accepting a deposit from the public. There were a total of 6,024 deposits that were made to the estimated value of 64 million rands. Most investors lost their investment. The pair were arrested in 2014 and both were found guilty in February 2019 on all 6,024 counts and were sentenced to 15 years imprisonment plus an additional 15 years, which will run concurrently. In case number 21, the land bank fraud, a grant of 6 million was paid to an entity on the verbal instruction of the CEO of Land Bank, and the correct procedures were not followed in approving this grant. 3 men, which are the former Land Bank CEO, Philemon Mutlatlane, Ruben Mutlaloga, and which is a former member of parliament, and Dinga Nkwashu, a lawyer, were arrested during October 2012. This followed relentless investigation that revealed that they had formed a common purpose to defraud the Agri-BEE Fund Land Bank, of which is a government project. The BEE agriculture project was meant to benefit emerging farmers and to assist previously disadvantaged farmers. All 3 accused were found guilty and sentenced on the 14th of February 2019 as follows. Mutlatlane given 7 years imprisonment, Mutlaloga 20 years imprisonment, whereas Nkwashu was given 24 years imprisonment. In the serious organized crime investigation, we also have got matters relating to police killings. The investigation of police killings is the responsibility of the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. Since 2018, the DPCI arrested 187 suspects for the murder of police officials. 55 accused persons were convicted and sentenced during the same period. Among the successes relating to the killings of police officials are case number 22, the Western Beck police official who was murdered. On the 8th of November 2018, Constable Dilange, may his soul rest in peace, was murdered in West Thunberg police station area, Limpopo, while he was on duty. In January 2019, the Serious Organized Crime Investigation Team arrested Puti William Mehlabi and Peter Mswazi, as well as Betty Mapoto. Together, they were also found in possession of unlicensed firearm and stolen vehicle. During the investigation, the accused persons were also linked to hijacking of a motor vehicle that occurred a day before the constable was murdered. The aforesaid accused were convicted and sentenced. Mehlabi was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder, 15 years for possession of a firearm, 15 years for robbery with aggravating circumstances, 8 years for kidnapping, and 5 years for possession of stolen vehicle. Mswati was sentenced to 15 years for robbery with aggravating circumstances, and 8 years for kidnapping, while Mapoto received a 3-year suspended sentence for defeating the ends of justice. In case number 23, a wife sentenced for the murder of her husband. On the 3rd of November 2019, the body of Warrant Officer Tulani Ngwabe who was stationed at Margate Family Violent Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit was found on the railway line near Potchefstroom Beach with multiple stab wounds. May his soul rest in peace. His wife was arrested in December 2019. In June 2021, the KwaZulu-Natal High Court, sitting at Pietermaritzburg, convicted and sentenced the Nonkululeko Gwabe, 46, to 22 years imprisonment for the brutal murder of her husband in what can be labeled as spousal encashment. The case against 3 accomplices is remanded in KwaZulu-Natal High Court, sitting at Pietermaritzburg, for trial that is starting from the 3rd to the 23rd of October 2023. In case number 24, the murder of Lieutenant Colonel Kinnear, may his soul rest in peace. The DPCI task team that was established in response to his killing arrested 23 gang members on charges including conspiracy to murder, premeditated murder, illegal possession of firearms and ammunition, as well as contravention of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. The members of this gang include Nafis, Modak, Muhammad Pool, and others. One individual has already been convicted and is serving now 20 years direct imprisonment. The other accused are appearing at Blue Downs Regional Court on the 16th of September 2022. In case number 25, 2 Hawks officers killed during a CIT robbery. In a CIT robbery that was to take place in Mahikeng, we lost 2 of our colleagues who stood barrel to barrel with the suspect, who also suffered 3 casualties, with the 4th one suffering the same fate from fellow criminals at a later stage. May their souls rest in peace. 9 accused are now facing trial at the Northwest High Court, sitting at Mahikeng, and the case is remanded to the 29 August 2022 until the 2nd of September 2022 for trial. In case number 26, 16 life and 608 years for bank robbers. From early 2013, the banking industry suffered a spate of robberies, and by the end of 2023, the number of bank robberies had nationally increased from 9 incidents in 2012 to 14 incidents in 2013. During 2014, bank robbery incident escalated with 25 incidents. 2014 marks the year since 2012 when the most bank robberies were reported. Analysis showed that members of the same gang repeatedly involved in bank robberies committed these things throughout Gauteng and its neighboring provinces. A DPCI-led bank robbery task team was established, resulting in the arrest of a group of suspects for a business robbery-related case that happened in Empangeni. 12 suspects, including 6 Zimbabweans and 6 South Africans, were nabbed, making the organized criminal group a multinational one. The accused were charged for their alleged involvement in 20 different bank robberies. Authority was also granted to prosecute the accused on 2 separate charges of a pattern of racketeering activities, which is in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. That is what we normally call organized crime. Following a long trial, the diligent investigation and prosecution team succeeded in having 8 of the 10 accused convicted in Gauteng Local Division of the High Court for 31 counts, including 11 bank robberies, 2 pattern of racketeering activities. On the 25th of January 2019, the convicts were sentenced as follows. Accused number 1, which is Sibanda, 2 life and 152 years imprisonment. Accused number 2, 2 life, 34 years imprisonment. All of these accused, each of them got 2 life imprisonment, as well as the number of years ranging between 152 years and 37 years. So one can rest assured that they will be gone for a very, very long time. Cash in transit highs. Since 2018, the DPCI arrested 726 suspects in connection with 826 cash in transit robberies. During the same period, 110 accused persons were convicted and sentenced on 115 cases. Amongst the sentences secured are 77 life imprisonment sentences. In fighting CIT scourge, on the 6th of March 2020, we suffered casualties in 2 of our dedicated colleagues, as I have already indicated in Mabatu. And that matter, as I indicated, is serving before court. In case number 27, 8 life imprisonment for CIT robbery. On the 1st of February 2019, warrant officer Musa from the Special Task Force and Lieutenant Colonel Carl van Vijver from Crime Intelligence were fatally shot in a shootout with heavily armed cash in transit robbers in Nongoma, northern KwaZulu-Natal. 7 suspects also suffered the same fate in that shootout, and may their souls rest in peace. Sandile Gumede, 32-year-old man, was arrested after this incident, and he was also found in possession of a vehicle that was used during the robbery. Hawks members from Pietermaritzburg Serious Organized Crime Investigation Unit successfully opposed bail until he was sentenced on the 13th of May 2021 in KwaZulu-Natal High Court, which is sitting in Pietermaritzburg. He was sentenced to 2 life imprisonment for the double murder of the police officials and 7 life imprisonment for the murder of his 7 accomplices. He was further sentenced to 20 years for cash in transit robbery and 10 years imprisonment for each count of attempted murder. The sentences will run concurrently. In case number 28, 258 years imprisonment for Limpopo robbers. In Limpopo, between September and October 2017, Buidubelo Daniel Apane and Solomon Monama, 38, committed series of cash in transit, robberies in Polokwane, Shiomangweni, and Ritavi, which resulted in a loss of cash. In October 2020, Apani, who is currently serving 25 years imprisonment for similar offences, was found guilty on 24 counts and was sentenced to 192 years imprisonment. Meanwhile, Munama was found guilty and sentenced to 66 years imprisonment. When you add the two, it gives you that 258. In the case of City Mountain project that happened in Mpumalanga, a City Mountain 1, 2, and 3 major case investigation were conducted in August 2018, July 2020, and November 2021, which is the period that the investigation were concluded. Criminal groupings involved in CIT in Mpumalanga, Free State, and in Popo, Northwest, and Gauteng were targeted. They were arrested, and eventually 8 suspects were linked to 24 cases, where they were indicted for 179 charges, including a pattern of racketeering activity. One of these suspects was known as Muzuvukile Willington Gininda, also known as Bibi. The matter is currently appearing in Mpumalanga High Court, which is sitting at Middelburg on the 6th of February 2023 for trial. One of the accused has since passed on. Damages to essential infrastructure. In 2020, the cases of theft of fuel from the pipelines mushroomed. In response to this challenge, 123 arrests were effected. As the courts were not operating at full capacity during the COVID-19 period, few cases have been finalized. However, some of the successes achieved in this could be case number 30, where accused was sentenced for theft of crude oil. On the 1st of August 2020, at Zamdela in Sasolburg, 4 Malawian suspects, including Norman Vito, were arrested while stealing crude oil from Transnet pipeline. The incident was immediately reported to the members of the Hawks Serious Organized Crime, who found the suspect busy loading the truck with crude oil. The suspect appeared in court on several occasions, which culminated in the conviction and sentencing that took place on the 18th of March 2022. The court sentenced the leader's Vito to 15 years imprisonment, and the other 3 were sentenced to a fine of 1,000 rands or 30 days imprisonment. On the front of non-ferrous metals, over the period 2018-2019 to the financial year 2021-2022, a total of 429 suspects were arrested for precious metals and diamonds in the country, while 59 of these accused were convicted. Non-ferrous metals to the value of 55 million rand was involved. Some of the highlights include a case where 3 suspects were arrested over 4.6 million of copper. On the 7th of February 2022, the Hawks Serious Organized Crime Investigation in Krugersdorp arrested a certain Venom Michael van der Mesch for 42 copper blisters worth approximately 4.6 million. The owners of P&P Commodities, who are the former boxing champ Peter Kutzer and Peter Venter, handed themselves over to the Hawks, where they were subsequently charged. The case is remanded to the 6th, 8th, and 13th of September 2022 in the High Court for trial. In case 32, 16 years imprisonment for copper cable thief. In July 2012, it was discovered that cables at Escort Tower were stolen. A case was opened and assigned to the Hawks Serious Organized Crime Investigation Team in Peter Marisbeck. Ronald George, 42, was arrested in May 2016. After numerous appearances in court, he pleaded guilty 6 years later. And on the 15th of March 2022, the Durban Regional Court sentenced him to 26 years imprisonment, of which 10 is suspended for the theft of Transnet copper cables worth 333,000 rands, as well as money laundering, a pattern of racketeering activities, and malicious damage to property. In case number 33, Transnet officials steal from its employer. On the 18th of February 2021, the Hawks Serious Organized Crime arrested Andries Harmse and others who are employed by Transnet at Kuduspoort Depot Silverton, and some the scrapyard owners. These individuals are still pending at Pretoria Magistrate Court. Their case is coming again on the 26th of September 2022. In the front of precious metals and diamond, over the period of 2018-2019 to 2021-2022 financial years, a total of 1,186 suspects were arrested for precious metals and diamond, while 219 were convicted. Precious metals and diamond to the value of 140 million was involved. Some of the highlights regarding these successes include case number 34, where Orkney illegal mining activity was dismantled. On the 21st of October 2021, 87 suspects aged between 25 and 49 were arrested. 8 were wounded, while 6 were fatally wounded during a shootout with members of the Special Task Force, assisted by the Serious Organized Crime Investigation Unit in the Northwest. This was an operation led by the DPCI. We shall have seen this on the media in the recent past. One member of the SAPS was also wounded in the activity. The alleged kingpin was arrested later and added, so that there are now 88. The other leader will be added when the case come again on the 6th of September 2022. So we will end up having 88 accused person on that day. In the second matter, case number 35, hefty sentence for gold in transit, highest, instead of CIT is GIT, gold in transit robbery. On the 8th of February 2019, a security vehicle transporting gold concentrate was ambushed by a group of suspects armed with high-caliber firearms. The suspects took gold concentrate to the value of 35 million rand and fled the scene. One security officer was also injured during the incident. The suspect abandoned his vehicle in Stilfontein. On the 26th of March 2019, Thulani Lushaba was arrested at Germiston by our Klerksdorp Serious Organized Crime Investigation Team. On the 21st of January 2022, he was convicted and sentenced on a charge of robbery with aggravating circumstances, attempted murder and theft of motor vehicle by the Stilfontein Regional Court. He was sentenced to 32 years imprisonment. In case number 36, 39 million worth of gold was forfeited to the state. In a Springs case reported in June 2019, the DPCI seized gold, which was later forfeited to the state, auctioned, and an amount of 39,577,000 was deposited into the fiscus on the 3rd of February 2021. Matters of trafficking in persons continue to be a challenge. During the same period, 85 suspects were arrested for trafficking in persons, while 18 accused persons were convicted and sentenced. Among the successes include case number 37, where a Nigerian trafficked Zimbabwean women. In 2018, a case of human trafficking was opened and investigated by the Hawks Human Trafficking Section within the DPCI. This investigation culminated in the arrest of Alba Makonjula Asabi, a Nigerian male, and the rescue of 2 Zimbabwean females who were victims used as commercial sex workers. The accused controlled the victims by locking them in a private dwelling. This took place over a period of 2 years before they were rescued. The victims were successfully repatriated back to their country of origin, and in October 2021, the accused was found guilty and sentenced by the Gauteng High Court sitting in Pretoria on 2 counts of trafficking in persons, and sentenced to 2 life imprisonment, and he was further sentenced to 30 years imprisonment for 3 counts of possession of and manufacturing of child pornography, 15 years for using the services of victim. Over and above the 2 life sentences, the accused was declared a prohibited person in the Republic of South Africa. The court also ordered that the accused's particulars be included in the National Register of Sex Offenders. In case number 38, an apostle and accomplice in court. In early hours of the 13th November 2021, the Hawks Serious Organized Crime Investigation Team arrested a pair of individuals for trafficking in persons. And in September of 2020, the individuals were then trafficked from different areas. And so far, 7 victims came forward. Both male and females laid charges. 3 victims came through the church, while others came differently. The accused will be appearing at Eastern Cape High Court, sitting at Bishop. This matter will be sitting on the 8th of November 2022. In the front of endangered species, for the period 2018-2019 to 2022, 373 suspects were arrested for crimes relating to endangered species. This type of crimes include abalone, rhino horns, elephant tusks, lion bones, pangolin, you name it. In the same period, 114 suspects were convicted and sentenced. Endangered species to the value of 449 million rands were seized. Some of the highlights in this include case number 39, where shipping agent was arrested over rhino horns. On the 16th of July 2020, Stephen Wesley Sarasoli was arrested by the Hawks Serious Organized Crime Investigation Team in Edenvale, and he appeared in Kempton Park Magistrate Court for alleged dealing in rhino horns and perjury. He labeled the consignment of rhino horns destined for Malaysia as scaffolding equipment, whereas it was discovered that in fact it is 47 kgs of rhino horns worth 3 million rand. The matter was removed from the court roll and will be reinstated now that the laboratory report that was outstanding has been received. In case number 40, the abalone traffickers convicted. On the 17th of May 2021, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, with the assistance of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environmental and in the Western Cape, arrested 2 suspects. One of the suspects was driving the Hino truck, whereas the other one was escorting the truck with a white BMW. Within this truck was a hidden compartment, which where 23,896 units of dried abalone were concealed. That also there was a cash to the amount of 50,000 rand that were found in their possession. The consignment of abalone was suspected to be exported to foreign country, which was ultimately destined for south of Asian markets. And this cash was obviously intended to corrupt individuals along the way. Both suspects have been convicted for their possession and control over the abalone for commercial purposes. They were also convicted for money laundering. The cash that was confiscated has been forfeited to the state and has been deposited into the criminal assets recovery account, famously known as CARA account. Both accused were sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. In the counterfeit environment, a number of counterfeit goods were seized with the value exceeding 1 billion rands, and several arrests were effected during this period. Some of the cases in this regard, which is case 41, Springs Fake Washing Powder Factory. On the 1st of April 2022, the Hawks Serious Commercial Crime Investigating Unit, together with the brand protectors, assisted by the Public Order Policing from Springs, executed an operation in terms of the Counterfeit Goods Act. The team found that the premises was a large-scale manufacturing and distribution facility. The raw materials were found, as well as the machinery that was used in the sifting of the powder. A 42-year-old suspect and his daughter were summoned to appear in the magistrate court, and the case is remanded to the 9th of September 2022. In the second matter, which is case number 42, on the 6th of May 2022, a joint team tactically moved in on 3 premises trading as the Lifestyle Center in Gauteng and seized counterfeit motor vehicle parts and accessories which were sold as genuine Ford branded products. The goods worth more than 500,000 rand were seized. The suspects, aged between 25 and 29, were served with summons to appear in court, and the matter is currently coming on the 26th of August 2022. Crimes against the state is one of the several cases that we continuously attend. Some of such cases relate to incitement and conspiracy to commit public violence and arson that occurred during July 2021. Some of the successes include the following. Case number 43. Instigators of July 2021 unrest. With regard to the July unrest instigators, it shall be recalled that the DPCI reported to have secured the attendance of 8 instigators last year. The DPCI never stopped the investigation since. In fact, a multidisciplinary team was established to investigate these matters. The DPCI and the National Prosecuting Authority were satisfied that the investigation is ripe and the hawks are currently landing. As we speak, you shall have noted that 35 suspects were already appearing in court as of yesterday. This morning we have added 8, which means that we can now safely say that 43 individuals has now been arrested. The case is remanded to the 26th of August 2022 at Durban Magistrate Court. The case of state capture report, it is important to mention that the DPCI will, as mandated to deal with national priority offences, which include serious corruption, serious commercial crime, and serious organized crime, take its place alongside its partners to respond according to the Zondo Commission's recommendation. These cases that falls under the DPCI's mandate will receive the necessary attention. The DPCI is part of a joint task force with the NPA in dealing with the more than 150 recommendations that requires law enforcement agencies to attend. You will recall that the DPCI had already started the investigation of some of the cases before the Commission could conclude its work. The DPCI is committed to ending an impunity of high-level corruption and other crimes in South Africa. Some of the cases already handled by the DPCI before the release of the Commission include case number 44 of the Eskom's Kusile tender fraud. On the 19th of December 2019, Mr. Franz Tlagudi, Abraham Masango, and Hudson Komutswani, together with 7 juristic persons, were arrested on allegations of fraud and corruption at Eskom Kusile Power Station project. It is alleged that a tender was fraudulently awarded to a company called Tubular Construction Project for services which were initially part of a tender awarded to another company. It is alleged that the funds were paid by Tubular to an account of an entity owned by one of the officials from Eskom, who was an instrument in awarding the tender for an amount of 745 million rands. The extradition of the Mike Lomas from the UK is pending, and the case itself is postponed to the 4th of November 2022. In the case of Bosasa corrupt activities, on the 6th of February 2019, 7 suspects between the age of 50 and 78 years, including Mr. Angelo Agrizi and the former Commissioner of Correctional Services, were arrested on allegations of corruption, money laundering, and fraud. The arrest follows a marathon investigation by the Serious Economic Offences of the DPCI, wherein almost 1.6 billion is alleged to have been misappropriated in the tender process for the procurement of various services by the Department of Correctional Services. The 4 tenders were awarded to Bosasa Operations Pty Limited and its affiliated subsidiary company. It is alleged that the officials received and accepted gifts in the form of cash, financial assistance in acquiring property, acquiring motor vehicles from the dealers. Other assets and payment was for travel agents for overseas travels. The case has now been declared by the National Prosecuting Authority and is now being handled by the Investigative Directorate. In conclusion, the message to fellow South Africans is that let us refuse to be part of corruption. Let us refuse the temptation of demanding drugs. Let us be vigilant against fraudulent promises or opportunities which lead to human trafficking. Careful consideration when engaging in online dating sites which culminate in extortion should be taken note of. Fraudsters target unsuspecting victims and siphon money from them in pretext of a sound relationship. Report any suspicion of impersonation or identity theft, demanding money in exchange for scrapping of cases. Desist from assisting unknown people to withdraw money from money markets using your identity document, as you might be aiding criminal and become an accessory after the fact. Report any wrongdoing to law enforcement structures, including the corruption desk email, which is corruptiondesk@saps.gov.za. The DPCI is committed to ending impunity for high-level corruption and other crimes in South Africa. I thank you.
With that said, we will now take questions from the media. We will start from in-house and thereafter we will follow from the questions that are posed on WhatsApp. By show of hand, can I see members want to ask? Okay. But question there, please indicate your name as well as the media house.
Am I audible?
Yes.
That's great, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Godfrey Lebeya from SABC News. My questions are directed to you, General Lebeya. You started off your address this morning by saying that you want to take the public into your confidence about what you've done since you came to office. But notably in your address, you make absolutely no mention at all of an investigation which is probably one of the most high profile at this particular point, involving President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Phala matter. Why did you not mention that at all? Are the Hawks not investigating it? Have the Hawks met with President Cyril Ramaphosa in this matter? And the reason why I ask this is because Arthur Fraser, who is the complainant in this matter, basically said he met with the Hawks and had given a statement. Have you met with President Cyril Ramaphosa? Have you taken a statement from him? With regard to the July unrest, I'm not saying that the public should not commend what work has been done and the arrests that have been made. I think you said 45 was the number of people who've so far been arrested. Why does it seem like there are no high-profile arrests that have been made? The public has been asking questions about certain individuals who made statements on public platforms during that time accused of instigating the violence. Why are there no more high-profile persons that have been arrested in this matter, or do you believe that there shouldn't be any high-profile persons that should be arrested? And finally, with regard to the tavern killings, are the Hawks at all investigating at this particular point any coordination in what we have seen as South Africans regarding to a spate of killings that have taken place at taverns? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cassandra. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. From ENCA. Just to add on to my colleague's questions with regards to the July unrest, we understand, of course, that there was some kind of a dossier or information, a document that was handed over by one of the political parties, which had indicated some of the information they had on high-profile individuals, in particular those who they according to the information, were instrumental in the coordination of the July unrest. In particular, information around the Zuma twins, Duduzi the Zuma in particular, she was mentioned quite a bit according to statements that were given to the Hawks, as well as someone such as Carl Niehaus. When are we going to start seeing some action around political and high-profile figures? Because at this point, all we're seeing are just individuals who, for the most part, seem like ordinary South Africans. Adding on to the issue around the tavern shootings, it seems the one that happened in Soweto seems to be quite a hard one to crack. What are the investigations showing you so far, and when are we going to be seeing arrests there? And then lastly, in connection with the issue in the West Rand, in particular in mining communities where they believe that they're under siege in terms of zamazamas, what are the Hawks doing there as well?
Thank you, Slindile. There was a hand at the back.
Good morning. I'm Oscar Naduma from IUBC News. Also with two questions. The first one is that you highlight that the institution has about 2,600 staff members, and the cases being investigated exceed just 22,000. So would you say you have enough capacity to investigate the matters before you currently? Is it possible to clarify how many of those 2,600 staff members are actually involved with the cases, and how many cases on average does a staff member of the Hawks deals with? Certainly, I want to go back on the question of the investigations regarding the July unrest. The Hawks, for a long time, we have heard allegations, especially been ventilated in the media, that there is political interference in terms of how it operates, and that those who are currently favored by the current political system are not prosecuted or being investigated. The absence of key people in law, of politically relevant, if I may, figures in this particular arrest in connection with the July unrest, does it not give credence to those kinds of claims? And the 8 suspects, if you just give us clarity, where were they arrested?
Thank you, Ngosnati. I'll allow the national head to respond, and then after we will take the questions from the WhatsApp.
Thank you very much for the questions. Starting with the SABC question of the investigation relating to the farm, where mention is being made that Mr. Fraser have made a statement regarding the investigation allegedly against the state president. The question is whether we are investigating. Why are we not mentioning that? As I have indicated, we are having more than 22,000 cases. So I haven't mentioned each case that we are currently dealing with. So most of the cases that I have hinted to are those that we have finalized. As you correctly point out, indeed the complainant made a statement. And so far, we have filed 41 statements in the docket. So I will not deal with the nitty-gritties of the content whose statement is filed in the docket. But rest assured that 41 statement is more than the statement that the complainant shall have filed. The second question relates to the July unrest, that indeed I have mentioned that there are 43 arrests that have been effected. The question is why no high-profile individuals have been arrested. That there were public statements that were made in the past by public individuals, which I think that I'll just also marry with the other questions relating to July unrest, where some names have also been mentioned that we seem to have not been dealing with those. If one can understand the complicated nature of the investigation that we have been dealing with, the public should rest assured that nothing that appeared in public was left unattended. So as to the evidence that we tabled before the prosecuting authority to make a determination of prosecuting or otherwise is a different matter. There are certain things that may appear in media space, which we obviously take note of that, package those in a form of docket, and after completion, table it before the prosecution. So far, with the arrest of today, we have just passed the 50% mark towards where we would be going with regard to arresting those who played a role. So I wouldn't be indicating who are the others, and we don't necessarily rank them. When they appear in court, those who want to analyze their role in society and the level at which they participate in society can be able to rate those. But those who have already gone in court can begin to analyze and say that this one is operating at this level of society. For us, we are not influenced by any political affiliation. Everybody in South Africa have got the right to belong to a political organization of their choice. When we arrest individual or we investigate individual, we don't ask them as to whether they belong to a political party, or if so, which political party they belong to. So we don't favor anybody from any political party. Ours, as the Act direct, we do our investigation without fear, favor, or prejudice. So rest assured that we are not being influenced by anybody. With regard to the question of the killings at the tavern, which have been raised on 2 occasions, I must say that we are not dealing with those killings that are taking place at the taverns. The greater service, the detective and forensic services in the South African Police Service are dealing with those matters. So I will not respond to the status of the investigation as to when arrest will be effected in cases of Soweto and the like. So also the coordination is being done in that space, and should the need arise that the services of the DPCI is required, we will obviously be working closely with the detective and forensic services. One question is, what are we doing with regard to the mining activities, especially in the West Rand? I think you shall have noted on the media that the Hawks arrange a project, a takedown operation, which obviously the greater service also participated, a multidisciplinary approach. You don't only see the Hawks alone, but you see the Hawks with others, while the Hawks is leading, because they organize that let's go and do this operation. Already we shall have seen that they have done that operation in the West Rand. The main focus is for the Hawks is to look at high-level individuals that influences ordinary persons to go and go underneath to go and do the mining. So that is what we do. We work with the other role players, including the members of the greater SAPS. The next question is whether the staff that we are currently having is sufficient, as well as the number of cases, the average that each individual is carrying. As I shall have indicated, indeed, more than 20,000 cases will require a high number of investigators. At this stage, we are still not enough. We are working on this. This month we will be recruiting more than 200, and next month we will again be recruiting more than 200. So it is a continuous process until we have filled all the vacancies. The average, obviously, if you divide the number of the dockets and the investigators, you'll see that it is high. But keep in mind that we say that we have adopted a group approach as opposed to an individual. I have indicated in the past that when I deal with VBS, I had to put 20 investigators to investigate that matter. So you can see that from time to time I put a team, not an individual, to an individual case docket. So that responds to the capacity that we are currently having. The issue of individuals that belong in a particular grouping of politics that appear to be favored, and that the arrest that we are currently doing is giving credence to this perception. I think that accept that as the DPCI, we are not influenced by political wishes. We are guided by the Constitution. We are guided by legislation. It is clearly written. And the Constitutional Court have also interpreted what is expected of us, which is why the law itself was refined after the Constitutional Court decision. So we know our mandate, we know what is expected of us. And if anyone was to interfere with the investigators or even the leadership, there is a judge that is waiting. You don't have to form a queue to go and find a judge. A judge is readily available to assist us if there is any interference. Even members of the public who believe that there are certain things that our members might be doing that are not in line with the law, they can indeed approach that judge who is in a position to investigate and reach a particular conclusion. So rest assured that we do our work without favor, without fear, without prejudice. The last question is, where did we find the 8 suspects that I say we have arrested this morning? This leg is operating in Gauteng. That is where we have arrested them. And then their particulars will only be known once they appear in court. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Tumelo. Tumaula.
Just to follow up on the issue of syndicates operating in South Africa. I just want to know if the Hawks are working together with other international or regional law enforcement agencies to try and get a hold of what is happening in terms of the copper syndicates, human trafficking syndicates. When we look at rhino horn and other precious metal syndicates, these markets are international destinations for most of these products. So what is happening in terms of sharing of intelligence, and are they also assisting if these operators, some of these high-profile figures, if they are not in South Africa, are you looking to assist? Are they looking to assist you with extradition processes, if possible? Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more questions in-house, Takalani, can you give an indication if there are questions on WhatsApp? Oh, let me take Lindile first, then we'll go to WhatsApp.
Just one more. Could maybe give us an indication into investigations around how Bushiri left the country and how that's going? If you are investigating that.
Thank you. Takalani?
Thank you, Brigadier. The first question from online is coming from Alex Michel from News 24. And the question is, could you please assist on what is happening with the Steinhoff case, and when will you act against matters used? And the following question is from Alex. He said on Monday, his colleague from Film 24 published a story about a construction mafia where construction projects were invaded and stopped to work, demanding a 30% lives of the contact daily. I mean, the question is, are the hawks aware of this practice and what is being done about it? And the following question is that in general, over the last 4 years, you said 12,157 suspects were brought before the courts and you secured 4,447 convictions. And the questions to that background are, one, how many of the suspects are still in court for ongoing matters? And the following question, how many matters were withdrawn? And how many suspects were acquitted? And the question from Angelo Popola from CPTN. And the question is, what percentage of white-collar crimes have been successfully prosecuted during our tenure to date? And we have Raymond from Network 24, and who said SARS had recently said that those implicated in the state capture are still working in the halls of SARS. And the question is, does the Hawks have a plan to investigate or arrest government officials still employed in the state entities who was implicated in the state capture reports, and what is the plan? And how many people who was implicated in the state capture have been arrested so far? And from this total, how many are government officials? And the last question is also coming from Alex again from News 24, related to the July unrest. And he said on July unrest, South Africans were told that the unrest was an insurrection, yet as far as those arrested are concerned, the charges don't reflect that they were part of the group charged with creating instability in the country. And none of the arrested suspects have been charged with terrorism, treason, or sedition, which would fit the narrative given to South Africans. And the question is, can you take us into your confidence and tell us whether this was a planned, coordinated attack meant to create instability in the country? And if so, have you identified those who organized it? Back to you, Brigadier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Takalani. I'll hand over to the national head again, who will indicate if maybe other questions will be deferred to the management. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you once more. The first question from the newsroom regarding the syndicate, as to whether when we investigate these matters, we are cooperating and collaborating with other law enforcement agencies from elsewhere, whether we are sharing intelligence and assisting each other. Indeed, when you are dealing with transnational organized crime, you cannot succeed when you are working alone. When you do this thing in silo, you will not be able to deal with transnational organized crime. We are working with our counterparts, some of whom are also having offices in the Republic. Just like us, who have got some of our officials based elsewhere, we also have got representatives of other law enforcement agencies in the country. When we are dealing with some of these drugs, you can see the amount that we are confiscating. It's not everything that is destined to be consumed in the country. Some of these things are intended to be taken to other countries, and we work with those international organizations to ensure that we disrupt the activities of international criminal syndicate. When we arrested individuals in connection with the boat that I was talking about, further arrests were effected by our colleagues in other countries. So we share this information and work together. Some of the information that we actually get from our colleagues from elsewhere, not necessarily from within, because you know that most of the hardcore drugs are not manufactured in the country. They come from elsewhere. And through those belts where the drugs are moving, we cooperate with those. This does not only focus on the commodity of drugs, it also informs the other commodities such as the rhino horns and the like. So all of these commodities that are moved from one country to the other, we collaborate with each other. Police to police cooperation take place. One should also understand that once the police to police have done their bit, the extradition is something that we do with the Department of Justice, because that is what we refer. We are not necessarily mandated to do the extradition, but we request the department to do that. But we share the information at our disposal. The next question is of how Prophet Bushiri left the country. I think that I will not respond to that one as to how the Prophet left the country, because that is going to be part of the evidence that must be led if we succeed in securing his return to the country to come and face charges. So I think you'll understand that how one is leaving the country might be forming part of those things that one shall have to come and explain. So I leave that one for the time when the court will be sitting. So, but we know that he is not in the country. He is back in the country of origin, and what we are doing is to try to get him back. And I think you shall have seen the court judgments that South Africans will no longer be expected to go there and testify in that country for the purpose of extradition. So there are those who are working hard to try to get the individual back to the country. Ours is just to ensure that we provide whatever evidence is needed. The third question is the matter of the Steinhoff, and as to when are we dealing with the individual that has been mentioned. The process is continuing. As we shall have indicated in the past, there is evidence that we are gathering from other jurisdictions, and then the decision itself, once the prosecution is satisfied that they are able to make a decision, we will be guided there. So you will appreciate that there are different charges that are being considered. Others may be ripe, others may need to be finalized, so we will be guided by the prosecution on this aspect. The fourth question is the question of the construction mafia, as to whether the DPCI is aware of this. Indeed, the DPCI is aware of individuals who are claiming or demanding some share percentages in the construction mafia environment. There is a investigation by the Greater Service, which have got organized crime, and then in some of the matters we are working closely with them. But all what I can indicate is that we are aware of this, and once it is on a particular level, the DPCI will be dealing with that. There are different levels of syndicates. So in short, we are aware of the individuals that are targeting the building industry. The fifth question deals with the number of arrests and the unpacking of those, as well as the conviction, wanting to unpack the acquittal and then the withdrawal and the matters that are still pending on the court roll, as well as the white-collar crimes. So today we haven't unpacked them in that fashion. But as I've indicated, most of the matters that I have indicated are on the court roll. More than 12,000 will still be on the court roll, because this I have just mentioned those that we secured during my period. So there are other matters that were still on the court roll that were not yet finalized. So there will be some matters that are for some reason withdrawn, which I shall have indicated here that we were waiting for a report. Now the report has been obtained. We are going to put it back on the court roll. So I haven't unpacked that for today. Otherwise, the report would have been longer than what the time that we have taken. So most of these crimes that we are dealing with are white collar. And then I think that both in the majority in the serious commercial space are also labeled white collar. A number of these matters in the serious organized crime are also labeled white collar. And in the serious organized crime environment or serious corruption environment, they are also labeled as white collar. It is those that normally are not using violence to commit the crime, which I think that they say is somebody whose collar is white but still commit this crime. So the majority of these are white collar. As you'll appreciate that nearly all the crimes that we are dealing with involve money. So that is the response to that particular question. The issue of the matters on the state capture and the plan to deal with those matters, I think that at some stage there will be some report in this regard. We are working closely with the NPA. We have established task force that deal with the investigation relating to the state capture. All the recommendations that has been referred to in the state capture report, none of them that relate to the state capture is not receiving attention. We are attending to all of those, and we are working to divide labor among ourselves, law enforcement officers. You will know that I have given 15 of our members to go and work with the ID so that they also deal with those investigations emanating from state capture that are handled by the investigative directorate within the NPA. We have also assigned a specific number of officers within the DPCI to deal with some of the matters that are not categorized as matters to be handled by the NPA under the investigative directorate. So that is, in short, the plan of us on how to deal with those matters. None of the recommendations will be left out. Whether the charges that we are being put before, the individuals that have been arrested in connection with the July unrest will include those offenses in Pok Datara and the like, terrorism and whatever. The final indictment, if there is that need, will obviously be determined by the NPA. So currently there are preliminary charges that we are putting on the accused persons. So the investigation is not completed by taking the individuals to court. So we will continue with part of the investigation. And at the end of the day, the final charge sheet will be decided upon. So it's not necessarily that you start with a particular crime and say that you are being charged with this before you analyze the evidence. So that is how I could respond to the question of the charge sheet. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Maybe it's important to mention, General, that to the media that there will be more opportunities and engagements such as these ones. As now, as the DPCI, we intend to hold briefings in response to the presentation of crime stats by the Minister of Police that are presented on quarterly basis, where I will also outline the role of the DPCI in changing the crime for that particular period. So this will not be only for today, we'll have more opportunities like this in future. If there are no more questions in-house and on WhatsApp, I would believe that this brings us, Takalani, since there's a question on WhatsApp.
Well, thank you, Brigadier. The last question from how from UFM. And the question, she gave the background that subject is often videos doing rounds on social media of armed gangs, believed to be nationals most of the time, engaging in illegal mining, who wields rifles in broad daylight, threatening to kill people. And the question is, why have any of these people not been arrested? And doesn't the Hawks have the ability to identify and locate these armed gangs based on the footage they post? Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. I think that is the last question.
What we can say is that we are calling upon the public that those who can assist in identifying the individuals who are playing in social media, they are welcome to contact us. We continue to also note these messages that make rounds on the media space. And we are working on them together with our intelligence community. But all what we can say is that those who know, don't hesitate to contact us, because some of these videos you are able to see the faces of the individuals. So assist us in identifying those. At times, it takes longer to finalize those type of investigation, because there are different methodologies that we use, which I will not be able to reveal in public. And I think that type of method is the one that was mostly utilized during the July unrest. Individuals that want to show information on social media but try to hide their identity. You shall have noted that we have been able to piece that corporate veil so that we know who is the individual behind this social media statements that are being released. So assist us in identifying those individuals that are showing their faces on social media. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General. I believe this brings us to the end of the briefing, and my appreciation to the media in-house and those who participated on other platforms to make this a success. Thank you very much.